Living in Harmony, 70 Days Challenge. Today is Sunday, the 11th of May, 2025, and we're just starting the third week of the 70-day challenge. So the theme of this evening is rising from the ashes. Rising from the ashes is a very, very important subject, an important reflection, is that very often in life, we have failures, we have frustrations, we have things that don't work as we plan. And how do we deal with that? So, to start off with, what gave me the inspiration to talk about this today is that I've been disappointed this weekend. I've been quite disappointed. Yes, I can be disappointed. The first thing is that yesterday on my live broadcast. At the end of the broadcast, my tablet told me that there was 100 people that had joined and watched. And then when I looked at YouTube statistics, it told me there were only 2 people. So that wasn't particularly positive at all. And then the other thing that I was disappointed with is the fact is that I do weigh myself and measure myself on Sundays to see where I'm up to and see what the week has happened. And I was expecting, since I've been dieting and going to the gym, that I would lose weight. And I didn't. I actually gained weight, which is not really my plan. And then I thought about it, and I've realized that in many things, hello telephone, in many things, things don't work out as we plan. And sometimes it's small things, maybe we're running for a bus and don't get it. Maybe we fancy a cake and the person in front of us takes the last one of those cakes. Maybe we plan to go somewhere in the weekend and the weather's not as wonderful as it would like to be. And these are sort of relatively small things, or maybe we did some work and then we forgot to save it, and then the computer bugged and then it disappeared and we have to do it again, or we left something out and it got spoiled or it got damaged, or we bought some food and we forgot to eat it and it went off in the fridge. So there's many things that small disappointments, small frustrations, that some things are our fault and some things are not our fault, but that's the way life is. And then some things that are more important, that we plan to get a job, or the person that you would like to go on a date with doesn't want to go on a date with you, or something more important, your car breaks down and it costs quite a lot of money to repair it. So then we start to, and maybe it's broke down because there's something you didn't do, you didn't take into a service when you should, or maybe the tire went and you didn't change it when you were supposed to. It reminds me, I need to change the tires of my car. And so then we get to slightly more important things, that slightly more than frustrations, but they're problems, and that obviously they affect our mood, they affect the way we see the world and the way that we see ourselves. And then we have big problems. Or we lose the business, our family business that's been in the generation for years. Our house gets repossessed, or we get divorced, which is usually a traumatic event, not always, but usually a traumatic event, or someone close to us dies. So we have many levels of loss and grief and frustration in our lives of different levels. And the question is, how do we deal with that? How do we deal with something that doesn't go the way you plan? For instance, at the moment, there's nobody watching. I'm up, then somebody's arrived. And speak of the devil. Thank you. Good evening. So we're talking about loss and grief and how we deal with things that don't work out the way that we planned. And this deals with the subjects of investment and disinvestment, and a new concept which is intentional partial disinvestment. which is something that it's important to think about. Generally, many things in life I talk about, people do naturally. And I put names to it, I put images to it, I explain how I see it. It doesn't mean that it only works my way. As I say, most people that function normally in normal life do most of these things anyway. My job is to help people who are not succeeding for whatever reason to do whatever they need to succeed in life and to be happy. So that's my mandate. My job in life is to help people make themselves happy. So that's a good job, isn't it? So, how do I imagine investment, disinvestment, and intentional partial disinvestment? So, I was very fortunate that over a 10-year period, I had quite a lot of training in shamanism, Western shamanism. And within that training, I had the very good fortune to meet a real shaman from Amazonia, Ricardo Tsakim. Ricardo Tsakim, he is a Shuar from the Shuar tribe in Amazonia, and he was at one point a shaman of shaman, which means that he was in charge of a society of shamans. So they would try and come together to help protect their space, their forests, and their lands. But he was a real shaman from Amazonia. And I had the very good fortune to interview him. I just said, please, can I interview you? And he came to my office with his daughter, who acted as translator, a very beautiful, intelligent young lady. And we discussed what shamanism is, and I had an interest in the psychological aspect. So I asked him, what does a shaman do in his job? He said, well, there's two parts. There's the somatic part, there's the body. So if someone is physically sick, and then with herbs and other physical actions, they deal with the body, just like any Western doctor would do. But when it came down to what we would call emotional and psychological problems, then their vision is totally different, because the psychism, yeah, doesn't exist in the traditional concept, and they only have the soul. And if you have a problem that's on that level, it's because you have a problem with your soul. So either the soul is contaminated, something has come in and spoilt it, which is an interesting concept, because we often have our psyches contaminated by thoughts and feelings and things that come into it that damage it, and we need to take out and express these negative thoughts and feelings and emotions and experiences. And then the other part is that part of the soul it goes away. And to recuperate the soul is a big job for the shaman. And they have to go in a trance, and then they go to the other worlds, the other universes, and maybe the soul has left by its own wish, or it's been stolen, or it's been taken for other ways, and it maybe need to be coaxed back, or manipulated, or trapped, or something. It's very complex and rich world and universe of how a shaman will recuperate parts of someone's soul. And there has been work on the psychological aspect, and there has been a famous book by, I forgot her name for now, on recuperating the soul, and maybe it'll come back to me later. And the idea that losing part of your soul is the same thing as depression, and depression is a loss of soul, and then to recuperate that part of your soul, then you can recuperate part of you will stop being depressed. I thought about that, and I came to an image. And the image that came to me was very interesting, because it encompassed that, but so much more. If you imagine the soul, just an image, as a sphere, a solid white sphere, which is inert. Sandra Ingerman, that's the psychologist shaman that wrote about recuperating the soul. Soul Recovery is the name of the book, I think. Soul Recovery, Sandra Ingerman. I've remembered. So imagine that your soul is a sphere, a white, inert, solid sphere. It doesn't do anything. We don't feel anything. We have no experience of anything in life if it's solid. Now, imagine you could take out a chunk of that sphere, of that stuff of the soul, and plug it into something. And that something could be a person, a project, a product, a thing. You plug it into that. And the idea is that you take out this chunk of yourself, which leaves a gap, which is linked by, one could imagine, like a cord, that then gets plugged into a energy source, your wishes, your desires, the positive feedback you get from people or from having a thing. And if you just bought a new dress, or you just bought a car, or a new PlayStation or computer, when you use it, the idea is it gives you energy back. You feel good about it. So the idea is that once we were invested in something, then that something should give us energy back. And that gap that is created by the investment then can be bright, luminous, warm, gives us good feelings. For instance, the feeling of love and being loved. That's that type of feeling. And this is all well and good as long as the thing that we've plugged it into, we've invested in, is positive and gives us the energy back that we need. But if for some reason it doesn't, and it ceases to give us the energy, or it just doesn't give us the energy that we planned, then we have this gap, this hollowness, this emptiness, this sadness. And this is the feeling that we get every time we invest in something big or small, and it doesn't work. It doesn't matter why it doesn't work. What matters is that it is not giving us the energy that we planned for it to get. And then we have to decide what to do with it. And the simplest idea is that you recuperate that energy. You take it back in. You take back your marbles. Yeah. So you take them back, and then you can use them for other things. It's a very simple concept, a very basic concept. Now, the problem is that when we invest in something, that sometimes it is difficult to disinvest because our self-image, our expectations, other feelings are there that makes it difficult to disinvest because we'll feel bad with the process of disinvesting. In French, there is a wonderful word, deuil, which is spelled almost like devil, D-E-U-I-L. And it sort of means bereavement and giving up, releasing. It's actually an incredibly rich word. I think it's for me, it's the richest word that exists in French, because it has so many different dimensions and meanings. To faire le deuil, to do the bereavement, means also to give up on something and accept the loss. It's incredibly rich. And in our world, it's not always easy. And sometimes the reason why we can't give up something is because we have an emotion that's attached to it. Not just the investment of whatever it is we plan and the dreams that it's going to work, but we also have maybe, for instance, if someone's died, we can have all sorts of different emotions that we don't know how to deal with or we can't complete. And while this is incomplete, then we cannot release this relationship and this situation. My mother had a friend whose sister died because of a medical accident. And she was so angry. and she so much needed justice, and she needed this and needed that. And this whole process, this legal process, during all that time, of course, she could not grieve for her sister. She could not give her sister up because she was just full of this anger and feeling of injustice. And sometimes if we have made a mistake, and then we go, well, what if I'd done this, and what if I've done that, and what if? And so the acceptance that something's not going to work can be very difficult. So this is also my job as a therapist sometimes, is to help people realize what it is that stops them releasing something that they're invested in. And of course, relationships. I had a couple a few years ago, and the guy had sort of planned to move on, and the woman just would not give up on the relationship, and she kept getting him to come back and wanting to discuss this and wanting to discuss that, and she just wouldn't accept that the relationship had failed and that she was a failure in her eyes as a wife. Because of that, it was very difficult for her, and we had to come to terms with it, and I had to show her how that her life was not working as well as it should, and this gap and this negativity she was feeling was because she didn't accept the loss and then take back her energy to go and do something else with it. So for myself, when I look at how many people are watching live at YouTube, I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed with myself. I'm disappointed with the system. And I need to start to say, well, look, is this a mistake? Is this an error? Have I got it wrong? And I reflect on it. And I look at the process of success, which is something I talk about quite a lot, is how do you succeed in life? You succeed in life because you have a dream. First thing, dream. We all dream. Some dreams are reasonable, not reasonable, exaggerated, maybe not even big enough. But we dream. And with that dream, we then test to see if it's realistic. Can we be realistically optimistic that it can work? If things are good, if things go the way they should, I mean, anything can happen. But is it reasonable to think it might work? And can I be optimistic if things go reasonably well that they can work? And then the next thing is to say, what strategies do I need to have? What support do I need to have? And then, of course, work, because that's the way it is. And so I've gone back, and this is something maybe you, with your 70-day challenge, with your goals, if they're not working out the way that you plan, maybe it's worth to take a step back and to reassess your original dream and how much it is realistic. And then, if it seems it was realistic, do you have the right strategies? Do you have the right support system? And this is a way of going back. This is a way of saying, well, I have this. I started work, or with this in place. And maybe I need to go back and reassess the strategies and the support system that I put into place. And the image that I give is that a few years ago, like 30 years ago, 27 years ago, I was going to Cape North with my wife, and we were chatting, and we missed a turn. We took the wrong turn. We took a turn, actually, it was too soon. It said turn left, and we turned left before we were supposed to turn left because we were chatting too much. And hello. And so what happened is that we went along this path, and eventually we ended up in a forest. And at the end of the forest, the road stopped. The road stopped. So what did that prove? It proved that we'd taken the wrong road. So we went all the way back, which was like another hour and a half. We've gone quite a long way. And we then caught up with the right road. It's very possible that somewhere along the way, with your dream, with your expectations, with the way that you function, you've made a mistake. You've gone down the wrong path, or you've not got the right support or the right strategy. So it's only reasonable to take back a certain amount of energy, a few steps backwards, to say, okay, how do I get onto the right path? How do I get to where I need to go forward? And I believe that your plan, your project is a good one. I believe that you've thought about this, and I believe you can get there. Maybe not 100%. Sometimes we don't succeed exactly what we plan, and we only get a partial success, but for me, that's okay. What's important is that we're on the right path and we're going forward. And what I expect from you is to keep going forward and to have courage. And even if it's getting difficult, is not to stop, but to check, to assess whether you've got everything in place, you're doing everything right. Now, for me, what I said before is I weighed myself and I expected to be losing weight because I've been dieting and I've been doing training. And I didn't. I've actually gained weight. Now that is depressing. It's not the way that I planned to go. Now then I realized that I had changed my plan. I had changed my project. And my project has moved from being just losing weight and getting thinner and getting healthier. It has moved towards making more effort to gain some muscle, more muscle. And the reason this has been changed is because I went for a control last Saturday, not yesterday, but the Saturday before. And I noticed that over the last 3 tests that I had a control in January, which I was well overweight, but I had quite a lot of muscle. In March, I got another control. I lost a lot of weight, but also lost quite a lot of muscle, which was disappointing. And we had a long conversation to try and understand. And people say, well, when the weight comes off, you have muscle that carries fat, and it's sort of normal. But somehow it wasn't satisfactory. I took 6 weeks off between the end of the last challenge in March and the beginning of this challenge in April, May, yeah, and end of April. And I've lost, I gained weight. I gained quite a lot of weight, but I also gained muscle. So it really somehow nothing seemed to work. And I was saying that it doesn't make sense that all this effort that I made last time, that I actually lost muscle. And then the reflection was, well, am I eating enough protein? And I said, well, I'm eating some proteins, but if you're going to the training on a regular basis and you don't have enough protein, then your muscles can't grow. You need to feed them quite a lot of protein to grow. And I realized that maybe I was off track by not eating enough protein. So if I want to have muscle, I need to eat protein. So last few days this week, I've been taking a lot more protein. Now, this week, I've gained weight. Now, is this a failure? Is this a mistake? Or have I changed my plan? Have I started to want to do something else that wasn't just to lose weight, but to be healthier, have a good figure, and grow more muscle? And actually, I have gone that path. I have changed my project. And it's not a failure. It's not a failure because actually where I'm going might be more interesting for me. It's not because something was wrong. So you also need to be aware that if maybe you don't seem to be going where you want to go, maybe if you think about it, you've changed your project, or your project wasn't actually what you want. And then you think about it and say, hey, I've written down I want to do this and get this and do that. And then when I think about it, it's actually not exactly what I want. I prefer to do something slightly different. And that is in no way a failure. It's actually a clarification of what is important for you. Or it could be an acceptation that something has changed or moved in your life or in your projects that you need to just correct the direction you're going in. And that can be totally positive. So keep courage. Be aware of where you're at. Be aware, obviously, of where you've come from. That's not going to change. But maybe where you're going to can change. Maybe now you're down after 2 weeks, you're seeing that you want to go somewhere else, something slightly different. This is not a failure. On the other hand, maybe you are failing. Maybe you're not having the right support or the right strategy or the right resources that you need to go where you need to go. So you need to take a step back and reassess what you're doing and how you're doing it and see how that pans out. It doesn't matter. We are moving forward. We are succeeding, maybe not as much or as fast or exactly wherever we plan to be, but it doesn't really matter. What really matters is we are changing our lives. We are investing in ourselves, and investing in ourselves can only be positive. And as long as we've got some sense of what is good for us, where we want to go, where we need to go, where it's good for us to be, then it doesn't matter exactly where we end up. It's not that important. What is important is we end up in a better place than we are now. And it's simple. Or where we were 2 weeks ago when we started the challenge. And I trust that we can get there. And if it's not exactly as planned, the way we thought it, with the resources, with the strategy, or whatever else that we plan to use, my strategy has changed. My strategy was what I call the 6 Fs, was fasting, which I still do on Monday. I don't eat on Mondays. And then famine, which means to eat very lightly on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then fish or flesh, which is protein on Friday, and then feast on Saturday, and then Sunday was whatever's left over from Saturday. Tonight I've got some Mexican mix that I made yesterday for dinner. So that's going to be my food. So what I realized that this is not going to work. It's not going to work if I need more protein. It's also not going to work with my system of doing a live every night at 8 o'clock, because I do a live in French at 8, a live in French at 8, and in English at 8:30, which I finish at 9 o'clock. And sometimes I do it from my office. Do it from my office means that I finish at my office at 9 o'clock. I don't get home till 9:15. And by the time I've got something to eat, it's 10 o'clock. It's too late. It's not healthy for me. And so I've realized with this idea of having more protein is that on Tuesdays, on Thursdays, that's the 2 nights that are complicated for me. If I have protein during the day, some meat, maybe a shake, and then I come home at night and have just some vegetables, then that can work for me. So again, I've had to change my strategy. I've had to look and say, this is not working. What's not working? What do I need to do to make it work? And then change and test and see how that goes, see what that does. So be creative, be positive, look and see where you're at, see what you need, whatever you need, give yourself as much as you can what you need, because we need to go forward. And I trust you will succeed. We will all succeed. We will succeed together. How much, how far, exactly where we will end up, only time will tell, but we will succeed. So we come to the end of this evening. Thank you so much for your time and for your presence. Share, subscribe, send me some messages. And the other thing that I'm starting to mention is I'm going in the future to start doing some recorded face-to-face sessions with people, free sessions. So if you or someone close to you feels the need and the desire to have a 1 or 2 hours of sessions with me, and will be willing to share that on the internet, I will be open to reflect on it. You need to send me your information, and I'll have a look. And in the summer or after the summer, I will start to put these online. Not for the moment. I'm all, as I say, I've got the 70-day challenge until the 5th of July, I think it is. After that, I'm going to take a bit of a holiday and have a break. But after that, in the summer, maybe I will record some individual sessions with people. So if you know anybody, then let them know. It's free. Most of everything I do is free at the moment, so don't worry about that. So take care. Have a great week. Maybe I'll see you tomorrow. I'm here live Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday evenings at 8:30 CEST, Central European Summertime, and at 4:30 on Saturdays. So anyway, look after yourselves, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.